Dear children, now I'm going to begin with the fourth part of the lesson, The Enemy. The third part ended where Dr. Sadao is having a discussion with the general about how to get rid of the man, the prisoner of war. It is very unfortunate that this man should have washed up on your doorstep, he said irritably. I feel it so myself, Sadao said gently. It would be best if he could be quietly killed, the general said. Not by you, but by someone who does not know him. I have my own private assassins. Suppose I send 2 of them to your house tonight, or better, any night. You need know nothing about it. It is now warm. What would be more natural than that you should leave the outer partition of the white man's room open to the garden while he sleeps? So he talks about private assassins, killers. Assassins are people who go and kill. So he says, I'll send them and I'll have the man killed and you needn't know about it. Certainly it would be very natural, Sadao agreed. In fact, it is so left open every night. Good, the general said, yawning. They are very capable assassins. They make no noise and they know the trick of inward bleeding. If you like, I can even have them remove the body. Sadao thought about it for a moment. That perhaps would be best, Excellency, he agreed, thinking of Hannah. Thinking of Hannah, obviously she would be totally shaken if she gets to know that there were assassins in the house and there's a dead body lying there and who would clean it, who would dispose it of. So all of that when he thought of, he said, yes, perhaps that would be best. Get the body also removed. He left the general's presence then and went home, thinking over the plan. In this way, the whole thing would be taken out of his hands. He would tell Hannah nothing, since she would be timid at the idea of assassins in the house, and yet certainly such persons were essential in an absolute state such as Japan was. How else could rulers deal with those who opposed them? So he decided not to tell Hannah anything about it, and for the same reason that she would freak out if she gets to know that there were assassins going to enter the house. And then he says that yes, these people, they have their own assassins, and how would they deal with people who oppose them? People who went against the rulers, they would have them killed by their private assassins. He refused to allow anything but reason to be the atmosphere of his mind as he went into the room where the American was in bed. He refused to allow anything but reason. Reason is what? Practicality, logicality. So he did not allow anything but practicality to stay in his mind. Up till now he had been very, very emotional and sentimental. That is how he had saved the man's life. But now he did not allow any sentimentality to enter his mind. He stayed with reason. He stayed with logic and with practicality. As he entered the American's room, he was in bed. But as he opened the door, to his surprise, he found the young man out of bed and preparing to go into the garden. What is this? He exclaimed. Who gave you permission to leave your room? I'm not used to waiting for permission, Tom said gaily. Gaily means in a very happy and joyous manner. Gosh, I feel pretty good again. So he's happy. That is his American style of talking. But will the muscles on this side always feel stiff? So he's telling the doctor that the side where he had operated, the muscles felt stiff. Is it so? Sadao inquired, surprised. As soon as the American said that the muscles were stiff on the side, then he completely forgot about everything else. And he said, now I thought I had provided against that, he murmured. So he's back to thinking about he had done everything that to make the muscles supple. And how come it is hard? So he lifted the edge of the man's shirt and gazed at the healing scar. So he says that he was quite sure that he had done enough that the muscles would not go tight. And he lifted the shirt and gazed at the scar. And when he looked at the star, he said, massage may do it, he said, if exercise does not. So if exercise does not make it supple, then massage will. It won't bother me much, the young man said. His young face was gaunt under the stubbly blonde beard. Say, doctor, I've got something I want to say to you. If I hadn't met a Jap like you, Jap means Japanese, like you, well, I wouldn't be alive today. I know that. Sadao bowed, but he could not speak. Why is it that he could not speak? Because the man is thanking him that because I met a Japanese like you, I am alive today. Otherwise, I would not have been alive. And what has Sadao just now done? He had planned his murder. So that is the reason he could only bow and not say a word. Sure, I know that, Tom went on warmly. His big thin hands gripping a chair were white at the knuckles. I guess if all the Japs were like you, there wouldn't have been a war. So he's going further and saying that if every Japanese was like Dr. Sadao, there would never have been a war. Perhaps, Sadao said with difficulty. And now I think you had better go back to bed. So he just replied, perhaps, that maybe you're right, but now go back to bed. He helped the boy back into bed and then bowed. Good night, he said. Sadao slept badly that night. Time and time again he woke, thinking he heard a rustling of footsteps, the sound of a twig broken or a stone displaced in the garden, a noise such as men might make who carried a burden. So he was feeling as if people are coming, assassins are coming to kill, and he was feeling as if there were sounds outside of people moving, carrying burdens, and the sound of the leaves breaking under the feet and the stone shifting from its place. So he could not sleep soundly that night because he was expecting assassins to come and kill the young man. The next morning, he made the excuse to go first into the guest room. If the American were gone, he then could simply tell Hannah that so the general had directed. But when he opened the door, he saw at once that there on the pillow was the shaggy blonde head, shaggy, unkempt. He could hear the peaceful breathing of sleep, and he closed the door again quietly. He is asleep, he told Hannah. He is almost well to sleep like that. What shall we do with him? Hannah whispered her old refrain. The refrain is a line that is spoken again and again. Like in a song, when we repeat a part is a refrain. So she had been saying this over and over again. What shall we do with him? What should we do with him? So she repeated her old refrain. Sadao shook his head. I must decide in a day or two, he promised. But certainly, he thought the second night must be the night. The second night must be the night that the general will send his assassins and have the man killed and taken away. There rose a wind that night, and he listened to the sounds of bending boughs and whistling partitions. Bending boughs, the branches of the trees. Bending because of the breeze, the wind, and the whistling partitions. Partitions that had been left open of the man's room. So as the wind was blowing, the partitions were making sounds. Hannah woke too. Ought we not go and close the sick man's partition? She asked. No, Sadao said. He is able now to do it for himself. So he refused. He said, no, you don't have to go. If he feels he needs to close the partition, he is well enough to get up himself and do it for himself. But the next morning, the American was still there. Then the third night, of course, must be the night. This is what Sadao thought. The wind changed to quiet rain, and the garden was full of the sound of dripping eaves and running springs. So when the first night no one came, the second night no one came, so the third night Sadao thought that this must be the night that the general is going to send the assassins. So the wind changed to quiet rain, and the garden was full of the sound of dripping eaves and running springs. Sadao slept a little better, but he woke at the sound of a crash and leaped to his feet. So the third night he was expecting the assassins. So when he heard a crash, he leaped to his feet. What was that? Hannah cried. The baby woke at her voice and began to wail, began to cry. I must go and see. But he held her and would not let her move. Sadao, she cried, what is the matter with you? Don't go, he muttered. Don't go. His terror infected her, and she stood breathless, waiting. There was only silence. Together they crept back into the bed, the baby between them. Yet, when he opened the door of the guest room in the morning, there was the young man. He was very gay and had already washed and was now on his feet. He had asked for a razor yesterday and had shaved himself, and today there was a faint color in his cheeks. So now he was getting back his health. So there was little color on his cheeks, so the pallor was going away. I am well, he said joyously, happily. Sadao drew his kimono round his weary body. Kimono, the overcoat kind of thing that the Japanese would wear in their house. He could not, he decided suddenly, go through another night of torture, of waiting for assassins to come and kill the man. It was not that he cared for this young man's life. No, simply it was not worth the strain. So it was quite strenuous, waiting every night for the assassins to come and do the needful. So he decided that he will have to do something about it. You are well, Sadao agreed. He lowered his voice. You are so well that I think if I put my boat on the shore tonight with food and extra clothing in it, you might be able to row to that little island not far from the coast. It is so near the coast that it has not been worth fortifying. So he says he has taken things in his own hands now. He's saying that you are so well that you can actually escape. And he told him that he'll put his boat on the shore with food and extra clothing, that he could row to the island close by. And he said it was so close that it was not fortified, means there was no one guarding it, because it was so close to the shore. It did not need to be guarded. So nobody lives on it, and there was no one there, and nobody lives on it because in this storm it gets submerged in water. So life was not possible there. But this is not the season of storm. So he told the man that this is not the season for storm. So you could live there until you saw a Korean fishing boat pass by. He said, you can just be there until you find a Korean fishing boat. They pass quite near the island because the water is many fathoms deep there. The young man stared at him, slowly comprehending, slowly understanding. Do I have to? He asked. I think so, Sadao said gently. You understand, it is not hidden that you are here. So he says that the man said, do I really have to go? And Sadao said, yes, obviously, you have to. You know that it is not hidden. Everyone knows, the servants know that you are here. And it's very risky for you to be here, so it will be better that you leave. The young man nodded in perfect comprehension. Okay, he said simply. Perfect comprehension, he understood perfectly well that Sadao meant good. So he just said, okay. Sadao did not see him again until evening. As soon as it was dark, he had dragged the stout boat down to the shore, and in it he put food and bottled water that he had bought secretly during the day, as well as 2 quills he had bought at a pawn shop. The boat he tied to a post in the water, for the tide was high. There was no moon, and he worked without a flashlight. So all this work he did with no light. There was no moon, means it was pitch dark, and he did not use a flashlight. If he would have used a flashlight, it was so dark that anyone would have seen that something is happening. So he would have been caught. When he came to the house, he entered as though he were just back from his work, and so Hannah knew nothing. Yumi was here today, she said as she served his supper. Though she was so modern, still she did not eat with him. Yumi cried over the baby. She went on with a sigh. She misses him so. So now this part shows the Japanese culture, that she was modern, but still she did not eat with her husband. So she was serving her husband, and she told him that Yumi had come and she was missing the baby a lot. The servants will come back as soon as the foreigner is gone, Sadao said. He went into the guest room that night before he went to bed himself and checked carefully the American's temperature, the state of the wound, and his heart and pulse. The pulse was irregular, but that was perhaps because of excitement. Excitement that not that happy excitement, but that troubled excitement that he has to leave that night. So maybe that is the reason the BP was high, the pulse was high, irregular. because of the excitement that he has to leave that night. The young man's pale lips were pressed together and his eyes burned. Only the scars on his neck were red. I realize you are saving my life again, he told Sadao. Not at all, Sadao said. It is only inconvenient to have you here any longer. He said he had hesitated a good deal about giving the man a flashlight, but he had decided to give it to him after all. It was a small one, his own, which he used at night when he was called. So when the man actually realized that once more Sadao was trying to save his life, and he could not really answer to that. So he says, don't think that I'm doing it for you, it's just that having you in the house is inconvenient. So I'm just wanting you to leave. I don't want you here any longer. And he gave him his own flashlight, hesitating in the beginning. If your food runs out before you catch a boat, he said, signal me 2 flashes. At the same instant, the sun drops over the horizon. Horizon is the point where the sky and the land meets. So he says, when the sun goes down, just at that very moment, that dusk moment, when the sun goes down, you give me 2 flashes of light. I will know that your food has, you have not yet caught a boat and your food has run out. So he says, do not signal in darkness, for it will be seen. If you are all right but still there, signal me once. So if you're okay, signal me once. You will find fresh fish, easy to catch, but you must eat them raw. A fire would be seen. So he's instructed him in every way that he will be able to survive. So the man breathed okay. So this is how Sadao was trying to help the man escape. He was dressed now in the Japanese clothes which Sadao had given him, and at the last moment Sadao wrapped a black cloth about his blonde head. Now, Sadao said. The young American, without a word, shook Sadao's hand warmly and then walked quite well across the floor and down the step into the darkness of the garden. Once, twice, Sadao saw his light flash to find his way, but that would not be suspected. He waited until from the shore there was one more flash. Then he closed the partition. That night he slept. Why was it that night he slept? Because now the man was not there in the house. You say the man escaped? The general asked faintly. He had been operated upon a week before. Who had been operated? The general. An emergency operation to which Sadao had been called in the night. For 12 hours Sadao had not been sure the general would live. The gallbladder was much involved. Then the old man had begun to breathe deeply again and to demand food. Sadao had not been able to ask about the assassins. So far as he knew, they had never come. The servants had returned and Yumi had cleaned the guest room thoroughly and had burned sulphur in it to get the white man's smell out of it. Nobody said anything. Only the gardener was cross because he had got behind with his chrysanthemums. These are the flowers. Now, in gardening, you have to stay with the season and tend to the plants with the season. If you don't treat them along, then they fall behind. That is, the flowers, they won't flower on time. So the gardener was angry because his garden was not tended well. But after a week, Sadao felt the general was well enough to be spoken to and about the prisoner. Yes, Excellency, he escaped, Sadao now said. He coughed, signifying that he had not said all he might have said, but was unwilling to disturb the general further. So he made it clear that there was more, but he just told this much to the general, that the man had escaped. But the old man opened his eyes suddenly. That prisoner, he said with some energy. Did I not promise you I would kill him for you? This line here shows that he had completely forgotten about the prisoner in his own problems. You did, Excellency, Sadao said. Well, well, the old man said in a tone of amazement. So I did. But you see, I was suffering a good deal. The truth is, I thought of nothing but myself. In short, I forgot my promise to you. So now the general is making all the explanations that how and why he forgot to send the assassins why he was not able to live up to the promise that he had made to Sadao. I wondered, Your Excellency, Sadao murmured. So he also said, yes, I was wondering that why you did not send anyone. It was certainly very careless of me, the general said. But you understand, it was not lack of patriotism or dereliction of duty. He looked anxiously at his doctor. If the matter should come out, you would understand that, wouldn't you? So that now the general is kind of begging Sadao that Sadao should not make it public that he had asked the general, he had told the general about the prisoner of war, and the general did this negligence of duty, that he forgot to get the man killed. So now he is saying that you should not let anyone know about this. Certainly, Your Excellency, Sadao said. He suddenly comprehended that the general was in the palm of his hand, and that as a consequence, he himself was perfectly safe. So now he realized in the palm of his hand he was in his hands now, because the general here was feeling that he had made a mistake. So now he says he felt that there was nothing to be scared of, that he should not worry. He would not be in trouble, because the general was feeling responsible. You are a good man. I'm sorry. So he of his hands, and that as a consequence he himself was perfectly safe. I can swear to your loyalty, Excellency. Sadao says you can completely rely on me. I swear I'm going to be loyal to you, and I will not let anyone know about it. He said to the old general, and to your zeal against the enemy. He says, and I know how zealously you had planned to kill the enemy, the man in my house, and how you are for the enemy. You are a good man, the general murmured and closed his eyes. You will be rewarded. But Sadao, searching the spot of black in the twilight sea that night, had his reward. There was no prick of light in the dusk. No one was on the island. His prisoner was gone, safe doubtless, for he had warned him to wait only for a Korean fishing boat. He stood for a moment on the veranda, gazing out to the sea from whence the young man had come the other night. And into his mind, although without reason, there came other white faces he had known. The professor at whose house he had met Hannah, a dull man, and his wife had been a silly talkative woman, in spite of a wish to be kind. So he's just thinking all this. When he came back from the general's house, he was standing in the veranda and gazing out into the sea, from where he had told, from where that night the man had come. And every night he had been searching for that flashlight. That night he saw no flash. And he had told the American that if everything is fine, if you don't have food, you give me 2 flashes. If everything is fine, you give me 1 flash. So that night there was no flash of light. So he knew that the man had gone safely. Now, why was he so sure that he had gone safely? Because he had specifically told the American not to stop any other boat other than a Korean fishing boat. And then he was standing there gazing outside and thinking about America and the people that he had met there. So he was thinking about his teacher, his professor, where he had met Hannah. He was a dull man and his wife was a very silly and talkative woman. And even though they were kind, but that is how he felt for them. He remembered his old teacher of anatomy who had been so insistent on mercy. Insistent means who had been insisted that you should treat a patient with mercy. And when you are operating, remember that it's a human being you're operating on. You have to have mercy when you're using the knife, when you're operating. And then he remembered the face of his fat and slatternly landlady. He had had great difficulty in finding a place to live in America because he was a Japanese. Now when he was there, he too had great difficulty in finding a place to live. The Americans would not house a foreigner, that too a Japanese. The Americans were full of prejudice and it had been bitter to live in it. So they were also prejudiced and they did not like Japanese, and it was a bitter life that he lived there, knowing himself their superior. Now he thought of himself as their superior. How he had despised the ignorant and dirty old woman who had at last consented to house him in her miserable home. So he really disliked that woman, and that miserable home means it was a small and very miserable, dirty, unkept home. And but this lady, where no one was ready to house him, let him live, she had agreed to let him live in the house, in the home. He had once tried to be grateful to her because she had in his last year nursed him through influenza. Now this is the part where he remembers that he had fallen very sick and he had influenza, and he was treated by this lady, the landlady, where he lived as a tenant. Now he was very grateful to her for saving his life. So that is what he is remembering now, that when he had fallen sick, she had nursed him and he had once tried to be grateful to her. But it was difficult, for she was no less repulsive to him in her kindness. So he found her repulsive no matter how kind she was to him. Now he remembered the youthful, haggard face of his prisoner, white and repulsive. Even though he was a young man, youthful, but he found him also repulsive. Strange, he thought. I wonder why I could not kill him. Why I could not kill him. So he's saying that in spite of everything, even though he found them repulsive, still he could not kill. And he's wondering why. And the reason obviously is that exceptions are always there. Now, where no one was housing him, he was given a place to live by this landlady, where the professor, where he found his wife. So there, and the professor who made him into a great surgeon, and then this lady who treated him, who nursed him. So in spite of all these people being repulsive to him, they had given him something, and they were the exceptions in his life. So here, in spite of the young man being repulsive to him, still he could not let him die. Why? Because he, Sadao Hoki, was that exception in Japan who was different. In spite of accepting this man as his enemy, he could not have killed him. So he wondered that it was strange that why I could not kill him. So with this, we come to the end of the lesson, The Enemy, children. I hope you all understood it well. Thank you.